Hey, doing YouTube? It's Will from Will Developments, my 381st weekly update. It's also, I guess the second update of the new year. However, things are going very well this week, especially in terms of training. In terms of stonework, things are crazy as always, super busy, which is good. I like being busy with that kind of work. It's something I generally enjoy. I mean, it's like anything. There's always going to be parts of certain jobs you're not going to like. I don't care how much you love what you do, which I do genuinely love what I do. But there's always going to be parts of it where it's like, man, I hate this part of it, or really don't want to do that part of it, that sort of thing. But much like with training, honestly, and especially with goals in mind, you end up getting somewhere with it, and that's, it's kind of one of the few places in life where enjoying the journey is important, but also getting to a particular destination is also really exciting too, and it's a good thing, and it feels great. And that's kind of how stonemaking is for me, where there's parts of the process I don't enjoy doing. Mostly, honestly, it's the finishing part of the process. It's just very tedious a lot of times, especially when you have a lot of stones to do. And oftentimes I do have quite a number of them to finish at one time. And it's sort of led it just to get a little into it. It's led to certain rules. Like, for instance, with pouring, I will not pour more than 800 pounds in a session, which is generally 10 bags of concrete. There was one day where I pushed it and I did 1,600 pounds in one day, and it left me so beaten and broken by the end of it. Not even just physically, because physically over time that'll wear you down, or wear anybody down, but what really broke me down was the mental part of it, because I was focusing so hard to make sure that I was keeping a particular level of quality with every single stone I was pouring, that it just takes so much mental energy to be on for that long. And it took it out of me for a while, and I didn't want to do any of it for a few days, to put it simply. But yeah, I mean, training can be the same way. There's parts of it I enjoy, there's parts of it I don't enjoy, but when you have a week like I had this week, it reminds you once again why we train, why we do what we do. So I had recently hit a lifetime PR on deadlifts of 485, and that was the most I'd ever pulled from a conventional height. Now, the most weight I've ever picked up off the ground was a 550 frame deadlift, but it was at like 18 inches. So that was the absolute most weight I've ever pulled off the ground. And I did it, I think I was probably weighing like 205, 206 pounds at the time, because I was competing in the 200s, so I'm sure I ate a bunch and put the weight back on. I didn't weigh myself the next morning, but I just assume I weighed more than 200 when I did it. Right now I'm walking around basically 200 on the nose. I'm averaging right now, and I'm slowly losing a little more weight. That way the cut to 181 isn't that drastic for February, and then the cut to 175 isn't that drastic in March. So I'd like to walk around 190. That would be optimal. Because a 9-pound cut's a joke, and then a 15-pound cut is, it's a little more egregious, but it's not that rough. As compared to if I was walking around at 200 and had to get down to 175. That's a tough cut. 25 pounds, that's a lot. So last night, Thursday, I pulled 500 from 9 inches conventional height. Pulled 900, and honestly, like, after I saw it, it wasn't great, it wasn't awful. I didn't love the way I pulled it. I didn't hate it either. And I almost just did 495, which would have just been 5 plates, and a 5-plate deadlift just, in my life, never thought it would happen, And then now I just said, fuck it, let's just put 5 pounds over. Let's just go straight even 500, and let's just do it. And pulled the 500, and it was like, It was awesome. It was great. It felt really good. That's a 15-pound recent PR, 100% lifetime PR, especially at 200 pounds. You know, I remember when 400 was like, ooh, boy, we're getting there now, you know. Now the goal is to break that 550 barrier from conventional height and do even 555, which would be the absolute most weight I've ever pulled off the ground, which would be super exciting. I also hit a recent / lifetime PR, so most of the squatting I do now is high bar. I was a low bar squatter for a lot of years, and recently made the change, realizing it's going to transfer a little bit better, doing high bar, and hit 385, which is a massive PR for me on high bar. The most I'd ever done with high bar was like 350. So to be able to hit 385 was really cool. Now that was an ugly as fuck. That was 100% like RPE 10. Absolutely no chance I was going to have much more left in the tank after that. If I hit, 390, probably would have failed. Like, that was right on the fucking edge of, this is your max. So, even though it was really rough, I'm still glad I did it. And what was the best part about it was it didn't really feel that heavy on my back. It was, and even on the eccentric portion of it, it didn't feel too crazy. And when I hit the bottom and started to come back up, it was one of the few times where I was actively thinking, and pretty much the only thing I was thinking was, push your knees out, squeeze your glutes more. And they just didn't. I knees just caved, and it was just like not happening. The knees pushing out anyway. But, I did complete the rep, so. But that's the thing, sometimes you just gotta lay it out there and just do it. And, soon I'll be hitting 385, and it'll look pretty. It'll look like how I hit, 315. So PR and squats, missed my strict press. Honestly, I came in on Tuesday and I was like, everything feels like shit. The warm-up reps, like 135, felt like shit. Everything felt like shit. I stricted 185 and then just jumped to 200. Because I was like, there's no point in doing 195 again. Went for the 200, and man, it just felt heavy in the hands. Everything felt bad. And I was like, okay, we'll just call it. It happens, Something's got my dog excited. And then tonight, though, I did hit a overhead PR and kind of made up for it with a push press, a 205-pound push press, which is, I believe that's the most weight I've ever put overhead. And honestly, I probably could have gotten to 210. The 205 really wasn't that. That was the first rep I did tonight that felt challenging. I did 185 and it just flew right up. The 205 was the only one that I did tonight where I was like, ooh, bit of a grind. But I pulled back and I said, let me just relax on this a little bit. Got a new program. I'm writing it this weekend, and it'll include a lot more axle clean and jerks. So that'll make up for the majority of my push pressing, and then on my strict press days, I'm going to add some push pressing in on those days afterward, and just kind of balance it out best I can for that. Because I need to work on my cleans, I need to work on my axle, hell, I need to work on my log. But that was exciting. So it's been a very good week this week. It was a good test week. And everything went the correct direction, and I hit some massive PRs. That 500 deadlift was awesome, to be in the 500 club. Finally is great. In the 175s, the lightweight men for strongman, basically the barrier to entry to being competitive for deadlifts, you got to be pulling 550 if you want to get near the podium. So I've still got a little bit more work to do, but I feel like with just being able to do that weight, I've clawed myself a little further out of the bottom of the pack. Same on squats, too. Overhead, I've still got quite a bit of work to do. To dig myself out of the bottom of the pack, I need to be pushing over 230. Because oftentimes around 225 is the weights you're looking to do. So, be competitive there, got to be doing at least 250, 260 to be competitive. world record levels in the threes. So yeah, if I get that up a little bit more, it's just baby steps, but everything's moving in the right direction still. Very excited for the new program starting next week. I'll be writing it up this weekend. Getting better at deadlifts, squats, overhead pressing for sure, and especially on the axle clean and press. Got to work on that for sure because I suck at it, so I really need to work on that. Need to get my clean a lot more efficient, so that's the easiest part of the whole thing. And we'll go from there. Yeah, so really good week this week. Look forward to that destination of PRs when you're training. Remember when you're in those shitty weeks why you do what you do and why you keep pushing forward. And if you don't, then what's your excuse?